Oh, I should be talking because we're supposed to be doing mic check. And I'm like, oops. So we're doing a mic check, and that's why I'm being all silly. Anyway, so mic check. Then I need something else. 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay, okay. That's it. Okay, behind the scenes done now. And 3, 2. Good morning and welcome to the Daily Egg for Tuesday, March the 26th, 2024. We experienced a full moon last night. It was absolutely beautiful. And you know, it's supposed to be a special full moon because it had a partial lunar eclipse. I think every single full moon is a special full moon. Yesterday's coincided with the Hindu festival of Holi, and yesterday's Daily Egg, I told you all about it. A lot of it was wrong information, which I admitted to, because I completely forgot that Rama's story is actually about Diwali. Now, just to top that off, just to finish that off, it's because in Fiji we didn't really celebrate Holi, but as I said and I reminded you, I should put some links in the caption for yesterday's Daily Egg. Wonderful stories about why Holi exists. But for me, all of these religious festivities are all about agricultural practices and all about the harvest moons and all about the changing of seasons, etc. And I was saying that Ramadan, which we pronounce as Ramadan, and I'd forgotten that, but I saw a post that reminded me it's not Ramadan. But everything, of course, gets made easier. It's simplified, perhaps for pronunciation reasons outside of the racial groupings language. But Ramadan was also in the hottest month of the year. Again, changeovers, everything made sense. Fast, don't do this, don't do that. Conserve energy in heat. You've got to. In the Middle East, in the deserts, in any hot climate, you really should be fully clothed because that keeps you from dehydrating. And plus, it protects you from the elements, particularly if you're in areas where there's going to be sandstorms, etc. So everything, all of our... a lot of the religious rulings and teachings and requirements are based on very practical practical suggestions.
Well, the most basic one is like eating dinner at a certain time. Mm-hmm. It's only because the food's hot.
Yes, and
I think that's practical.
And right? And hot food is actually better for your digestive system.
That's right.
And also, then the other thing you had said, well, also in practical terms, so that everyone can eat together and you're not just the person and usually the woman.
Well, see, it's always like it's a bonding time, right?
Right.
Dinner time is bonding. Come and sit down with the family. But I'm like, no, it's sitting down at dinner time is to eat the food hot because that's when the food is ready. It's got
you're also a bit cynical about things because to me,
So, but the practicality of it is that.
Yes.
But yes, it happens to become a time for bonding and.
But primarily, as you say, it is the practicality. Yeah. Otherwise, the person who is dishing out food is going to be dishing out food all night and day if everybody just comes, whenever they want to eat. It comes to the table when they want to eat. But I also like the bonding period. But I think we use it as a social thing, eating. But it is a time of mindfulness, actually. It really should be, eating should really be about silence. Not just social, but we've used eating as a social thing because these are the times when people are allowed, I hope the sound is on, are allowed to sit and eat, and then that's the times we're allowed to sit. So those are the times we might as well socialize because we're all so caught up in working and life and people with children and all the responsibilities of modern day society, which keeps everyone trapped and seemingly everyone seems to be miserable in it. But we catch up with friends over brunch, over breakfast, over breakfast, brunch, lunch, afternoon tea, dinner, drinks, all food and beverage things, when really food really should be about silence for very practical reasons. For starters, because you shouldn't inhale air as you eat. And you eat and you chew. That's why you're not supposed to chew with your mouth full. Not only because it sounds annoying, because there's some of us.
Talk with your mouth full.
Sorry.
Chew with your mouth full, yes.
That which he said. That's why you shouldn't chew with your mouth full. But also that too. I was wrong, but I'm going to turn that into a right, and not because I always have to be right. No, I'm quite happy to be wrong, thank you. But when you have lemons, kind of thing, make lemonade. So yes, don't chew with your mouth full. So take smaller bites, because the other thing of this, I always say the other thing, when you're supposed to be chewing food. We don't chew food enough because you're supposed to masticate it. It's like how birds chew their food before they feed it to their young.
Yeah.
Right? Well, we're supposed to be doing that for our stomachs, chewing a lot, chewing thoroughly, chewing smaller bites, so that the nutritional value of that bite, of that morsel of that food you are eating, then gets delivered to the rest of the body. But we don't. We shove food into our mouths. Also, an interesting thing is too much chewing is not good for the jaw. This is why smaller bites need to be taken, and you're supposed to chew mindfully. You're not supposed to, now this is what, you're not supposed to talk with your mouth full, because that lets in air while you're chewing, and air is just inhaled. Air should only be taken in for breathing purposes. So we are supposed to breathe through our nose whilst we are eating. Instead, people are talking, people are opening their mouth, people are not concentrating. Oh, this is great food. No, let's talk about everything else. And usually people talk, what they say is great food is usually something that has managed to prick through the numb senses, the numb membranes of our palate, of our mouth. That's why everyone requires more salt, more sugar, more chili, more thick, gluggy sauces, pour it all over something, call it yum. People don't actually cook the meat thoroughly. They just cook it on the outsides, make sure it's cooked enough to, inside, but they don't actually flavor the meat. They flavor the outsides of the meat, and they use the sauces as flavoring for meat, rather than actually ensuring the meat has been flavored. And if you're going to eat another living being, you might as well respect all of its life form. I know it sounds warped, but what the fuck? That's how people used to do things. So going back to the mindfulness of eating. So again, that is mindfulness of eating. If you're going to eat another living being, the ancients, and we have it all in our histories and our stories and imagination, used to thank the meat. And it's no use being, especially there are lots of people of non-Euro origin and racial grouping who are vegetarians, who have chosen to be vegetarians, like Jain of Indian. There's a religion called Jain, Jain, and it's Indian, and it's an offshoot of Hinduism, but not really. Well, it is. Not everything is an offshoot of Hinduism, and they don't believe in killing anything. So they don't kill anything. And I like them. I've visited Jain temples, so they're completely vegan, but they don't even kill ants. They don't.
What about plants?
No, I don't know how it works. Oh, they eat plants. Yes. So, and this is the thing you've said that plants are living beings too. But it's an interesting thing. So let's let's not get into it right now. But what I'm saying is that the meat eating people around the world. Wait, stop it. The meat-eating people around the world have always acknowledged, well, I hope they have. I hope that it's not just fairy tales, that human beings at one stage, we used to thank the meat that had to be killed to be eaten. And then it was done so that the whole animal can be used for the human being's purposes, to feed, to nourish, to keep warm. The fat gets used for other things. Fat gets used for soap. Fat gets used for cooking, or everything, the hide, the skin, etc. The organs, the bladder gets used to store water. Everything of an animal used to get used. Now, oh gosh, I don't know. It's enough to make everyone want to be vegetarian, but it's we blame climate crisis on individuals rather than the corporations that have just exploited the world and then polluted it for profit. Of course, we gain because they make products that we want, and then they blame us for wanting them. It's just, and then and also the animals, so meat eating. They blame individual meat eaters, and like vegetarians and vegans are so damn smug with it. But like Dwayne said, well, so plants are living beings too. How do you feel about that? And that these are people, I know vegetarians who have no qualms about being the most absolute assholes to people, especially white people. Sorry, Euro people, but you have got to come to face to face with some things about yourselves. And this is not me being bigoted, because there are so many of you I love, and I love your pop culture because you don't have culture. I love your pop culture. I love your entertainment. I love the things that you have created to make, you know, the structures in place, well, somewhat pleasing. I like your clothes, but so much of it comes from all over the world. But Euro white people, you really have to look at yourselves and see the damage you continue to cause. So I'm talking about, I know this, no longer a friend, because very insecure human being, but a vegetarian and so a vegan, and so smug with it. You're a white woman, so smug with it. And it's like, okay, but you're an asshole. You're nasty to women. You hate other women. So it's okay for you to be a vegan, as long it's okay for you to be a misogynist as long as you're a vegan. Okay, I'm just talking about how smug people get. Now that's why I was talking about Jain and Hinduism. That does require vegetarianism from the people who practice those religions. Other religions, there's certain things they don't eat, like there's many religions that don't eat pork. Now, there are two reasons. There's the reason cited is that pig is dirty, but the scientific reason for that is that pig is closest to human DNA. So that could be the reason, because a lot of there are African origin religions that, but also Islam requires you not to eat pork, and Hinduism, if you're not a vegetarian, it requires you not to eat beef. Now that comes from religious reasons, but maybe because it's also a caste system thing. Okay, so the higher castes don't eat meat. Good for you. That's because you've got people, working for you, cooking for you, etc., etc. That's nice. I mean,
there's some stories where Krishna goes hunting for deer.
Yes. Why does he do that?
Yeah.
Why does he go hunting for deer? Well, because apparently the lower castes, yeah. I hate to say castes and class, but please understand, we do not think in those terms. I do not think in those terms. I do know, as an Indian brought up as a Hindu, which I am not a practicing Hindu, I am just a person of faith, and I believe in God energy, spirituality, and science. But so we do get told out caste systems, and that's why it's like, what? So because I'm born to this higher caste, because my mother and then my father were so it's okay for me to do things. I do know. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, my background is in radio and television. Television. I was one of the first faces of television in our country of birth, back in the early 90s. And that is because of my substantial media background, my radio background, writing, etc. But I can't deny the privilege of my looks, my skin shading, even though back in those days, I would just put baby oil on and fry in the sun, or reef tan oil. Oof, coconut smelling. Ick, oil, just fry. But you can always tell a tanned person. And so I think that because of the colorism in place, and also I'm going to go right there and say to you that I really feel caste system has a place in this as well. And it may not have been with the people who were choosing, because they didn't know, they just chose me for the way I spoke, because there's the other thing, the class system. So not only did I come from an elite society already, I spoke the way I do. And so that, it's fine to have me on television, and plus being Indian. But if I was Indo-Fijian with an Indo-Fijian accent, I wonder if I had. Now it's fine. Now it's prevalent. And that's great. The accents of the country. But I do believe amongst the Indians, the Indo-Fijians, the fact that I was of the caste I was made it okay. But still, that didn't stop them putting me down or anything. Everyone will find something. They will find something. So fuck it. Just do anything anyway, because everyone will find something to complain about. So just do it anyway. Which is going to lead me into something interesting, because I'm going to complain about something later. So, you know how it is. Caste systems, right? I have been a meat eater from childhood. We didn't eat beef. I've only recently consciously started eating beef, and that is very rarely in my late 40s, and that was just before I was going to achieve full menopause. I really started needing iron. I really wanted iron. And that I craved steak, something I had never craved before. And I started eating steak. I don't eat beef a lot now. My body doesn't. Yeah,
maybe once a month.
My body doesn't react well to it. If it does, yours does. You're triracial. Interesting. Dwayne is Indo-Fijian, Indigenous Fijian, and Chinese. And we laughed about the fact that these are three races, three racial groupings that can live in absolute harmony, but seem to be natural enemies. It's very, so each one is of the other. And it's like, speaking of China and Fiji right now, I don't really know what's going on, but it's very interesting. China, I'm digressing, people. This is a news thing that has just come out on 60 Minutes in Australia. And 60 Minutes is traditionally worldwide in Euro television, played on Sunday. 60 Minutes. But it's so boring and sensationalist now. The 60 Minutes of 70s, 80s, and even 90s was hard-hitting journalism. Now it's some sensationalist bullshit, like a bit like this one. But hear me out. So China is deploying their police, and they're all in uniforms. They're not like the CIA, where they're all, in disguise, and they could be your next door neighbor, but actually they're spying on you. CIA is the foreign police for the state of America's foreign policing of everyone else surreptitiously. FBI is internal. So now China has deployed their police all around the world. And in 2017, they sent police just to Fiji, and it has been filmed. And this is part of the 60 Minutes expose, whatever, of what China's doing. Yeah, China's doing what you Euro people had been doing for centuries, but China's doing it in a very different way. China's doing it without
lying.
Yes, without lying, without pretending. Chinese have never lied and pretend. They've not told you. They've not told us. So that's maybe the error of omission. But anyway, so they went and arrested all these because, okay, I am not condoning everything China does. There's a lot of things China does in its billion-plus population, to its billion-plus population. That is not good. And the people are rising against what is happening in China. And that's going to happen because even though China does think long-term and future, there is still hierarchy and a caste system within their own. I mean, to the point where all the Eurostream construct platforms aren't there. It's like, we don't need this stuff. They've got their own. Of course, why wouldn't they? They're what? A fifth of the world's population? 1/8 of the world's population, sorry? I don't know, something like that. That's huge. So people who are dissenters, like who speak against China, and they have to leave. They've got to leave the country. And because they're saying that something's not right. And there's a lot of things that China cracks down on other racial groupings, so they're quite harsh on, I think, Christians. I'm not sure if they're harsh on Islamic Chinese. And so they're going into other countries, particularly countries they have deals with, and they had a deal with the previous government in Fiji, signed in 2011, about that's why Suva at least looks neat and tidy, if a bit clinical and not as pretty anymore, which is weird because China is very beautiful. I mean, the Chinese infrastructure, architecture, etc. And Suva no longer looks pretty because it was colonial and now it's just gone to shit. But like the parks and the seawall, etc. Where did all this money come from? The bridges, the road right around the mainland. Who paid for all of that? So I guess the agreement is more agreements, more agreements here is that China funds all these things. Now, China has got an agreement with Solomon Islands that has Australia really, really scared. The agreement with Fiji is transparent, at least. The memorandum of understanding is something anyone can go and read. The hoo-ha, the thing that Australia is all up in arms about, haha, is that China deployed their police to go into Fiji and just arrest the Chinese citizens on foreign soil.
In Fiji.
In Fiji. Not needing Fiji police permission nor Fiji government permission to do so. They just landed their plane. They said, we're coming in to arrest Chinese nationals. They found them, they rounded them up, and they took them back on the plane. And there's all these, Google it, China, Fiji. It's trending on Google right now, or any search engine.
So they came and took their own criminals.
Yes. Right? What's the problem, right?
Yeah, what is the problem?
Because people have unless you have treaties, people have always hidden refugees.
Yeah.
Have hidden in other countries.
Right.
This is a problem that this is a valid argument about Australia, because there are lots and lots of refugees.
So this is a humanitarian thing.
Look, I don't know. Let's just unpack a few other things like Australia. And I think that there's all these things countries have between each other, extradition treaties,
Yeah.
Like you can't or you cannot. You can come to this country with full permission of our government and police, and then you can come and take your people. It's not like in the movies that, people just drop in and, that's why they always
that's
said.
That's why it is like that. It's always a COVID.
Yes. Or you have a Rambo or a Batman, people outside the law. And I do understand, and I do know that there are a lot of countries who have people outside of the law operating. Expendables type thing, So yes, so like in Australia, the refugees, right? And this is what I'm going to say they're not arguments, they're absolute hatred against. It's like people don't want people coming in, and there is a bit of a problem in Australia. And I have to say, this is valid. This is a valid critique, but that's only because the government hasn't been able to truly. Or it's not just Australian government, it's the world, because everything relies on profits. We really should be a no-profit zone. Imagine if we all just had enough to not struggle and a little bit more to enjoy. And if you want luxuries, and you've got to work for it yourself, but work intensely, not hard. Because not everyone, like I understand this about myself. I am not a person who's meant to be working hard. I am an intense worker. We're going to talk about the 4-day work weeks, et cetera, when I get to them, and how both Dwayne and I, we're such intense workers, but I have been explaining to him this mindset that has been set amongst especially the middle class. And we are talking classes, so I'm not going to mince the words, and the lower classes, okay, in terms of socioeconomic demographic classes, only that. Work hard, and you will be rewarded. You'll get the money, because every so often it happens, right? It's not true. It's not true. It's those of us who have been in the privileged arenas understand that that's not true. The harder you work, the more
work you get.
The more you keep the system in place. No. The more you shine in your work, the more work you get. And that also depends on where you are on the socioeconomic demographic ladder. Because if you are in the lower rungs, and the harder you work, the more you shine, the more work you get. And you may not necessarily get rewarded. You're just going to shine. So give him all the work.
Yeah.
Give it,
That's what I mean.
Yeah. So, but the more you shine, with a refusal to be pigeonholed, then that's problematic. But I don't know what happens in that way, because I have had that privilege in my entire life, where I've always been, and so you get noticed until you come, until now, I'd say. So I am fairly well known within my industries. That's great. I have not chased the limelight. I've not had to tell, I've just accomplished it continuously. There are people who know me, who deliberately suppress my progress because and that's it. That's what I'm saying. My understanding of privilege, because as long as I please those people in these circles, in the privileged circles here, and by pleasing that means because I sound this is interesting. All of us who have an accent that doesn't sound ethnic, whatever ethnic means. Ethnic merely means racial minority or majority. So, the racial minority in China are any non-Chinese, and so they're ethnic. So, yeah, I sound like this, and I talk the way I do, and I dress the way I do. So I have been welcomed into these Euro spaces and constructs until there's a threat of me taking over attention. Come on, brown and black people, you know this. Asian origin people, you know this. You felt it, you've experienced it. And we, us women of multicultural, we talk about it. It's very interesting. We're only useful to a certain point, and then, oops, you're asking too much. Oh, okay, sorry. Just wanted what was, my due, like money. Like, pay me. Don't just steal my ideas. Don't just pretend to be my friend and then leech off me while we're having brunch. Going back to food, right? So I had said that. So this is what's happening. So now, so this is the problem in Australia where we have refugees, and now who is coming through on those boats? And these boat journeys are arduous. I wouldn't want to wish it on anyone. Anyone who comes across the seas, and they have such horrible. Say they leave from the Middle East, they've got to first go from there to somewhere else. Maybe they stop off in Indonesia for the last, and they have to hide and live in slums because these are illegal people. People should never be illegal on the land that was created for them and that we were created from. But they're considered illegal, so they've got to hide in slums, etc. In, say, Malaysia, Indonesia, and then they make that trip across to Australia, the Northern Territory side, the western borders, which are closer to Indonesia and Malaysia, on terrible boats. And they've either paid a kidney, literally at times, or gosh knows what, just to get to safety. Just parents getting there, people's will to live is interesting. It is very interesting. And people's need to kill people and make people's lives atrocious. So this is what I pose. Why do people just not say, well, fine, we'll all die then? Why do people want to live? This will to live. Because it is our right to live. It is our gift to live. We have a finite life cycle. So that's why. So it's a gift to live for a short period of time. And you've got to make the most of that oxygen you are using in that short period of time. But amongst those refugees doing these arduous journeys, is the sound still on?
Yeah.
So you're listening to me and the sound. Thank you. Are people who may not actually be there for good reasons. And this is what governments get wary of and scared of, and what all the civilians who are actual racists and bigots and xenophobes and, particularly the the Euro origin people, but also the Oreos, not just the Euros, the Oreos, who are like, well, we came to this country, the right way. We came through visas and blah, blah, blah. We had the money to pay. That's right. You had the money to pay. And so many of us do come into the country with the right reasons and the right ways. We get the right things, but that's privilege, folks. That's being able to, sure, we have to leave our countries of birth, which it sucks, but our countries of birth, they're big ponds with they're small ponds with fat fish. And there's no room to breathe for anyone, no room to progress, and younger people can't get away because the older people are too fat to move. metaphorically and literally in some cases. And so we have to, and because also I don't want to be a big fish in a small pond. That just suffocates me. I can't do it. So I've always had to leave my beloved country of birth. But there are no choices, there are no chances, there are no opportunities there. You know, we already know the 1% of elite in the world of 8 billion people. It's teeny tiny. Break that down into the 1% elite in the countries. Small country, the 1%, oh my God, that's only about 50 people. You know, that's all who gets the opportunities of wealth. You know, if you're a young woman and you're good looking, well, there you go. There's a privilege at your disposal, and so many of these women use their wombs for security. They use themselves as collateral. They don't care about the damage, which is going to segue into what I'm talking about here. But so, yes, of course, there's refugees. Australia is a huge, vast land, empty. I have driven through full towns that can accommodate 100,000 people, houses already built, schools there, not one, not two, three, high schools and primary schools, Olympic-sized pools, libraries, pubs, hotels, accommodation, fun stuff, parks, houses galore, empty, empty, empty. Because it was built by a steel, or mill people or the mining people, mining conglomerates build these places for their workers. But once they've mined the land, they can't do anything. Well, evacuate. And so I drove through this, and the reasons cited for, because they're going to terminate because of termites. This was a few years ago. Hopefully that place is still there. And there were Euro people who looked at me with such suspicion because, ooh, brown person. Yeah, on black land. What? Yeah, anyway. But some of these people had bought the pubs and the local pub, etc., for $20,000. Huge pub with accommodation and stuff like that. Because, it's all going. Why can't we put refugees out there? Yeah. Why can't we have talked about this ages ago?
Yeah.
We talked about it in one of our episodes for Radio Fly. Excuse me, I just need to have a drink.
We've also talked about the lie about leaving your country and looking for better opportunity in places like Australia.
It's not a lie.
Well, I mean, doctors and stuff come here to work in
that's a lie.
Kitchens.
Yeah. Taxi drivers, janitors.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay, that lie.
So that's a bit of a rot.
It is a rot because, and even people who come here thinking that they can, so they'll come here in 5-10 years, they'll actually work the job that they were educated for.
Opportunity. You can, the struggle is real in your own countries.
That's because of too many people.
Yeah. And especially in war-torn countries, that's a different story. Of course, anything outside a war-torn country is better. Anything.
Actually, no, what's better than that is a country that wasn't at war, on crisis.
Yeah.
But we can't fix that. Why not?
Yeah.
Why isn't it fixable? Why are these countries still in crisis? Why can't we as a collective, as we're doing now? And there is one of the Palestinian journalists that whose account I follow on Instagram, and he's now just saying, you're all just watching for fun. Yeah. Goodbye. I don't care anymore. And everyone's like, oh, how dare you do this? Yeah. And I'm like, you're missing his point.
That's right.
Because this is what I'm saying about activism and everything and all this. And I had explained in one of my stories yesterday on Instagram that I've refrained from sharing news stories about what's happening in the world. Because if by now you don't know what's happening in the world, I can't help you. And I just know that if I put it on my stories, people are just going, tapping to go ahead to see the non,
it's also that question you asked, right? If there was war in your own country, would you go back and fight? And we've asked this question. They are
mostly for our country of birth. I found it is mostly the people of Indo ancestry. Indo-Fijians have said for sure they'll go back and defend Fiji, etc. I do know there are a lot of people in Fiji who will, at their first sign, will leave. There's a lot of these toxic people whose relatives were in power in the previous government. And I was friends with them before I really found out what they were like. And there was an election, and they were already had their visas. They were all because they've all got, dual visas, etc. They were all ready to leave. They don't care about Fiji at all. I was shocked.
And it was when Ukraine was invaded by Russia.
Yeah.
Ukrainians went back to Ukraine to fight.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
There were boxers, famous millionaire boxers, like the best in the world boxers. Vladimir Klitschko, Vasily Lemonchenko. They all went back and fought for their country. And that's amazing. That's what should be happening, right?
Is that privilege, though? Ukraine is still a European country.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's the other thing.
Like, if we go back and say we're still, even though I am a celebrated person of the country of my birth, which I delight in. I love it. Thank you very much. It humbles me. And you are someone who is a triracial, so you do have acceptance in some places, but you don't in others. So first, in that instance, would it be seen that we are not from the country, so just kill these people, or
Sure.
whatever?
Yeah.
Or are we going to be seen that way? So where are we?
See, but that's the strange thing. I don't feel like I'm from Fiji.
Right.
I was just born there.
You're of Fiji.
Yeah.
You're of Fiji.
Yeah. I've never been made to feel like I'm from there.
Well, I've always felt I was from there until I was told that via a coup in 1987, and then understanding the politics, that Indians, Fiji people of Indian ancestry have always been made to feel like we're the invaders, when actually we're the trade people.
So I've just, pretty much all my life, I've just understood that I'm not Fijian.
Even though you are blooded Fijian.
Yeah, I've got the blood, but visually, all those things, like I'm not considered Fijian by the people of that country.
And that's what this whole thing comes down to about race. What is race? Yeah. What is race? I'd say a triracial person. What race is he? I described this yesterday as Chindian Fijian. Yeah. Chindian is a Chindian, they say, is a Malaysian term for the Chinese Indian children, because there's a huge Indian population in Malaysia, huge Chinese population in Malaysia. The indigenous Malay, unfortunately, are, as all indigenous people, except in Fiji, well, they used to be, but, the indigenous people in Malaysia are really suppressed. But anyway, the Chindian. So I said, you're Chindian Fijian, and you're literally all of that. You're literally Chinese, Indian, and Fijian. Like, I'm Indo-Fijian, but I have no Fiji Kaiviti blood. I just feel it. I have, a soul of Fiji. But going back to what we were saying about that, so why not go back to our countries so why can't people, like they're doing in Ukraine, right? So why can't Palestinians go back to Palestine? They're just going to be killed.
Yeah, that's right.
And so people of privilege.
Dangerous there, yeah? Or what is the situation?
Well, there are a lot of Palestinians. Well, DJ Khaled, for instance, who's Palestinian. There's the models Gigi Hadid and Bella Hadid, who are part Palestinian or father's Palestinian. They could all go, but they are, I think the Hadid girls, women are quite vocal and have always been vocal, and they're losing jobs. These are considered the two of the top models of the time, and they are losing jobs because of their pro-Palestinian stance. They're Palestinian. What do you expect? I'm going to say something really contentious here. What do you expect the Jewish people to do? Be against genocide for sure. By now, it is the Jewish people. Jewish people are against genocide. Thank you. They've been through it. They don't want to have that anymore. So look for the Jewish people who are like, no. When we said never again, we meant never again, even for everybody, is what the people of Jewish faith believe. It's the ones who aren't really adhering to faith of any kind except their own, bloodlust that are problematic. Whoa, watching some of the things those people are doing is insane, just dropping bombs for fun on civilians walking along, and harassing children who are wearing shirts that seem to have guns on it. And it's just... But there's other things involved here too. So let me just retract. So these Ukrainians who've gone back are rich.
Yeah.
They're rich.
Yeah.
And they're white.
And they probably won't even be put on the front line,
No. And they're white. this is what's so astonishing about what's happening in Europe. We haven't seen white wars for 100 years since they actually started the rest of the world doing all the wars. You know, Europe was where all the wars were. That's where everybody got into. By the way, Russia is by trickery getting Indians and Nepalese people to fight for them and then just dumping them and putting them on the front line and just so, you know, brown people are just disposable. Just disposable.
The unsullied.
And they're just, I have to, I will share with you on Starlander or news links, etc., with all the things I'm talking about here. Now, I mean, it would be great if people, you know, but like, we understand. So the people who left Fiji, particularly the Indos, they left not because they really wanted to. They left because they had to. So many Indo-Fijians are quite angry about having to leave something that they knew that was home for them, but because of the coups and the racial hatred that was deliberately stoked, the racial toxic fire that was deliberately stoked by the people who benefited from it. And now Fiji is still suffering, worse than ever, I think. The world is technologically advanced, but we're all still in the Middle Ages, and it's a patriarchal Middle Age. We haven't grown up. So now, refugees, like, why can't in Australia? Because we had talked about this. Okay, welcome the refugees and then give them their own settlement and their economy and learn how to live in an Australian environment economy and have their own, you know, how wonderful if Australia could be one of the first countries to lead the way in this, have pockets of the world inside it.
Yeah.
First of all,
there's space.
Yeah, there's space for sure. First of all, before this is legitimate, and we're you know, should be grateful that the First Nations people of this land don't say, well, all of you go away.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're actually asking for is just, well, what about us? Could we have the rights to our land to roam free and to not be suppressed and oppressed on it and not to be treated like dirt on the land that we came from first, them, the First Nations people? The way they're treated is heinous. It's inhumane. Oh, I can't. And it would be, so let's utopia that Australia could be, right? This beautiful land could still be the land of the First Nations people of this land. Pockets of the world, you know, these, like as I have described to you, these little cities, these little townships. There could be little worlds, a microcosm of multiculture. Think of how that could be. Think of, let's bring all the Palestinians here, but Palestinians don't want to leave their land. Everyone wants that land because it's holy. Is it? Or is it because, you know what? I don't, is it holy? Where did these stories come from? Sure, because Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all came from around there. And so they all see that land as holy, beautiful. Please, okay. But surely you shouldn't be spilling blood over it. You shouldn't be doing it that way. All the information is out there as to why the people of Jewish faith believe that that's their land because of someone named Israel. The Jews that actually went to Europe are European. They're white. They're European. The Jews originally perhaps were brown. And then, I don't know. Look, faith is faith, religion is religion, and if it is for good purposes, great. There's lots and lots of stories of Christians, Jews, and Muslims praying together for Palestine because no one wants this war anymore. I mean, not even the people of Israel, they don't want this war anymore. They're tired. They're just exhausted. They want that leader of theirs to go, get out. And his ego. You got to understand, it's not just his ego, it's the way he was brought up. His father, his grandfather, go read it. It's all there. There are Zionists, Russian Zionists. The surname of the current leader of the genociding state in Palestine, I can't call them, they're not Jews. That name, the surname, is made up. his surname is something else, more Polish, more Russian. Sorry, his surname is from a nickname or something derived, so it's not his real name, but it was meant to sound more Middle Eastern because it sounds Middle Eastern, but it's not. So imagine if in Australia, I was saying first you have sacred areas that all of Australia is accessible to all First Nations people, and that they don't want to own anything. But the younger generations, the newer generations, the ones that got colonized, but still have connection to who they are, they want something else. They want positions of authority and leadership and guidance. Fair enough. Why are the oppressors still leading the way? And in that oppressive, in the regimes, still, in the constructs, are still like people of of other countries who get more access to being higher up on the ladder than, oh gosh, it's crazy. I love Australia for its multiculturalism. I love Australia for the opportunities that people can get here, but more and more it's less and less. The more people we have, the less. And this is, as I was saying, some of the arguments against the constant intake of migrants. Now, migration is what actually made this country Australia. It was the original migration that made a sacred land into Australia. So we cannot say no to migrants when this land is just built up. This country is built up of migration. However, there are resources, people who are Australian, living here, people in your next door house. When young people can't find housing, the housing crisis is insane. There's far too many people. And now, is that because we're taking in too many people? You know what? The reason why Australia still functions is because those people who come in are prepared to do the jobs that Australia's middle class don't want to do anymore. Who are the chefs in kitchens? Migrants. Who are the janitors? Migrants. Who are the street sweepers? Migrants or ex-junkies, apparently. I don't know. I think it's wonderful. Jobs are jobs, but this is what we were saying earlier. We have doctors, engineers, architects working as janitors and taxi drivers, and they've got to work as Uber people because when they come into Australia from their British educational systems, mind you, and institutions, they've got to then do another set of scholastic activity or whatever to prove. So in the meantime, they've got to work as checkout people and even then you can't have checkout people because it's all automated. Wow. There are jobs galore for the world. There could be a job for everyone. But technology, profit. I was going to segue into a few other things, and now I can't recall. I should pause this so I can say, what was it I was going to say? We're talking about the workday week and how really it's quite embarrassing that we all have to work. What an embarrassment for the human race. Not that we have to work because work gives us purpose. It's an embarrassment for our species on this planet to be seen as having to work to survive. Not survival in terms of going to get food, etc., but we've gotten to that point now, and now it's some weird sort of survival that the very thing that created the equity for us to all survive is now what we're scrambling for. So money as an energy was created, the concept of it, so that there's a third party in trading. So it wasn't just a barter system. And I have always said the tomatoes and goats analogy. So money makes it fair. So because sometimes tomatoes are worth more than the goat and vice versa. But if you have money, you can then buy, whatever. You can buy a little bit of tomatoes and maybe half a goat, preferably not living. Money. And now we're all scrambling for money. That's embarrassing. If we're being watched by, higher life forms, intelligent life forms, and my gosh, what an embarrassment. I did want to say a little bit about, because I had said something about, I wanted to complain about something, right? Because Well, I was looking through. I was looking at our numbers and saying, okay, we don't have a lot of viewers according to YouTube. You know, YouTube viewers. There are videos that have millions and millions and millions of viewers. We have 20, and some of them have been 1,000 or something. But you know, I'm grateful for the 20. It's like, thank you, and if you're watching, thank you. That's your time that we're taking, and I really deeply appreciate it, because we're not doing, you know, a whole lot of stuff to keep your interest, because everyone needs to be entertained. Over 60 seconds, oh, that's too much. I need to be entertained. Next dopamine hit. We cannot be still. So people can be still and binge watch shows because it's thinking for them. These shows are entertaining and thinking for people. So people they call it rotting. They can rot over the weekend and binge watch things. Oof. I can binge watch favorite things, I guess, but not really. Depending, I don't know. You get into a mood, right? Sometimes you just want to just indulge and do something. We don't do that anymore, really. But anyway, so I was looking through numbers, and I'm very. Am I grateful? Am I grateful? Yes. No. I thank you with gratitude, but I'm not grateful like, oh, thank you for watching. Not that way. Because if you're watching, you're meant to watch. Because the things I say are heavy and intense. And a part of me is like, who the hell do I think I am saying all these things? And what am I doing? What am I doing seeking numbers for people to watch? Because I do think that what I'm saying is pertinent and relevant. And yeah, I know. Look, I know what this is going to sound like, but I really think I have a calling.
You do. I believe that.
I really think I have lived the life I have, experienced what I have. I've lived privilege because I know what it's like. I have lived privilege, an entire life of privilege. It is only now, when we have chosen to start from scratch and have faith in our abilities, and to show gratitude for our gifts and talents, and to show our confidence and our faith in our abilities, and we earn an income as freelance creatives, and that's not as easy as you think. And someday I guess we'll talk about it, because we have to withstand rent hikes, electricity hikes, NBN, food. The cost of everything has gone up. We don't have regular pay packets. We have to work 24/7, sometimes 25/8, to be able to pay our bills, because we have that faith in it feels silly, it feels greedy. But anyway, so because of that, I now know what it's like to really start from, well, I don't have a bed of privilege to do my creative work from, so it's very hard for creative people to actually achieve and accomplish when you don't have privilege as your safety net. We have privilege of many, many kinds, and also our brains give us the ability to keep earning money. And it's that is our gift, that we have skills that we don't actually require. And I'm not mocking this, please understand that. I'm not mocking this, but we don't require a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job.
Well, you could argue that we do.
Oh, yes, we do. I mean, we do to pay bills.
That's the only reason we do.
But what about if you don't need that?
Yeah.
To pay bills? If you needed to pay bills, but you have no other option. Creatives get driven to that.
Yeah.
I was going somewhere with this, and I'm not going anymore with it. I'm talking about, so anyway, and this is my natural skills, right? So I feel like I am now being given opportunities to see all types of life and things. So when you're at this point, and this point we've chosen to be especially at our ages, and we have a wealth of experience and knowledge and management and leadership and everything, it's wonderful to now also, for me, experience it at a way of like, whoa, well, I didn't realize it was this hard. When it's I like it, because I now definitely know what I'm talking about in a lot of ways, about how it is. I can, when I and I have always done this, advocated for communities that have been marginalized, communities that have less privilege. But now I actually have a definite, I have definite knowledge of that, because we live luxuriously frugally, in that we live in a lovely environment and we live with love, and we live with care, and we don't live with waste. We live, you utilize everything there, and mindfulness. And there are people who cannot afford to eat. People, just average people, not people living on the street or people who are homeless, but whatever. Average people cannot afford to eat 3 times a day. I do think people eat far too much anyway throughout the day. But it's wonderful to then absolutely be mindful with the way we live. And we're certainly, we have experienced some intense, like, whoa, as a freelance creative, just gone, okay, well, this is going to be a bit of an interesting week kind of thing. But, oh my gosh. And I say this still from my safety net cocoon, my upbringing, my membrane of privilege. Like, whew, I mean, these are just that was just temporary times for us. Imagine people who have to live through that every day, every year, all life.
Yeah.
That's crazy shit. That is impossible. That can't happen. That can't be the way. That cannot be life. That cannot be. And this is why, like, I know that I am meant to be a person we are meant to be people of material wealth, because we know how to spend it. And that's got nothing to do with material spending. It's not like I'm going to go buy an Hermes Birkin bag. Bullshit. Speaking of which, I have got some news about that too. For starters, I don't want that bag. It is bullshit. But I cite it because it's just a news item at the moment. And also Hermes, Hermes, a giant French, label, their Birkin bag, which was created in the 80s, named after Jane Birkin, a British French woman, cool chick, the cost of it can be up to about $500,000. And they're exclusive bags. So only actual Hermes regular clients have access to buy the bag. I don't think that's a bad thing, but also you've got to go spend a fuckload of money with them first before you're allowed to go and then spend a fuckload more of money. Now, I'm not talking about material wealth of that sort, okay? I'm talking about, we know how to create platforms that will employ other artisans and pay them well, while also living well, because I like to live well. If we're all living well, the more we all live well, the happier we are. But living well does not come down to just money. Money helps, though. Money helps. It does not come down to just money. We enjoy and are grateful for everything that we have and eat. And I love that. Now we sit and eat with mindfulness. I love that. I love that. So clearly I'm not going to talk about today what I wanted to talk about what I saw on YouTube, and I'll talk about that later, because that was kind of weird what I saw. YouTube has, I look, this is why I guess OnlyFans exists, but YouTube has all of its clickbait accounts. There's one particular account I just happened to see and had 5 million views on this Eurowine little blonde girl who pretends to be, I'm sorry, this is the only way, very whorish in her behavior, male gaze, whorish behavior. And I'm no prude, okay? Sexuality is open and raw and sensual. And, women can unleash their inner whore, But it's a terrible thing to say whore. And I don't say whore in terms of prostitute. A prostitute is a sex worker. That is a valid occupation in our world. Sex, a sacred thing, then had to become something that had to be sold and bartered. I'm not agreeing with it. I'm just saying that, yes, it's something that exists in the world. Don't agree with any of it, but if it exists, we're going to champion it and hope it is then safe for women, especially. But anyway, this just briefly, I was looking through, and all she's doing, she's And she's doing it with a partner, so they know they're not stupid. They're raking in views and they're making money. And I don't know how much money people make off YouTube, but they're doing this. And so she has a measuring tape, and she has then, someone says, she says, tell me your, basically she's asking her viewers, tell me your dick size. She holds up a measuring tape, then she holds up something equivalent, and then she acts like she's inserting that thing inside her. But if you look at it, you can tell she's still wearing jeans or something. So what are you inserting? She's pretending to insert inside her. So all these, who's watching this?
5 million people.
Well, I was one of them. And I'm like, oh my God. And so that, and then also she holds up her knickers and says, which color today? Ugh. And then further back, and she's got a few channels on YouTube. She pretends to be giving blowjobs to the guy, and who, and they're laughing all the way because she's acting, and whatever. She's probably nothing like this in real life, right? But she knows what will get the viewership. And I'm sorry, but that is, it's never going to change for women. This is not empowerment. This is not sexual empowerment. And this is where I will need to talk about this separately, and I'll talk about it on a different one, more of what I'm talking about. And also these influencer feminists on Instagram and social media and in Australia, they started off as just reality TV contestants for whatever, like in shows like The Bachelor, etc. And then they go on because other Euro-white girls, hey, she's just like us, hey, a shoddy. And, I don't know. I'm being a horrible bitch, but my gosh, enough of us know how much we get maligned, oppressed, teased. People want to put me down. They say things like, your plummy accent is to say, the way I speak is, oh, okay. It's only because I'm a brown woman and I'm brown from the inside out, from the core out. But I will talk about some of the damage that's happening and why women will not, I'm sorry, we will not ever achieve parity nor equity. And it's not empowerment what's happening with sexuality at the moment. Because some of these feminist influencers, well, they're encouraging women to stick, vibrating tools up your ass. Not saying anal stimulation doesn't have its place. Yeah, but that's only because all female genitalia is numb. Well, mine isn't. Not anymore. So I will talk about that separately because, the daily egg, well, we try to keep it wholesome, although I've already talked about anal stimulation here. But okay, fine, each their own. Sure, great. I'm not negating it, not decrying it, but to say that is the purest form of pleasure. This feminist influencer, this Euro-white Australian young woman, look, I don't dislike her. I like her. I like some of the things she says. I think she's cool. I think she's fun. She's gorgeous. But whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. No. So I'll talk about that and these sites on YouTube for the male gaze, millions of subscribers. So I'm complaining, and she's still going to do what she does because it gets all the viewers, and I don't think that's right. And you're going to say, well, let them do it. For what? For what? And this is where we're going to have a conversation about stripping and all that stuff too, because yeah, I don't know. Without wanting to take away from autonomy of women, women's independence and their right to choose what they want to do, because some women enjoy doing things like stripping, etc. But, my friends, all right, what have we got here now, darling? We've got the end of our show. We have got, that's right, I've forgotten. We have got the daily egg. I was waiting for the toast, but the thing with toast, my husband likes to feed me really.
Yesterday we decided.
I forgot.
Yeah, is that?
Yes, I forgot.
Okay, sweet.
Darling, this is live. Go with it. Don't bring out all the behind the scenes stuff. My goodness, these producers don't understand how to be on air. So yesterday we had decided we won't do toast because Dwayne likes to give me fresh, hot, crunchy toast, and then he'll give it, and I still chat like I'm doing now. But really, we want to say bye. Thank you for being here. I don't know if you'll be part of that conversation because we do have a very busy work day, but I do want to finish what I've been talking about here. Yeah. But anyway, we'll see you later on the Daily Egg. sometime. Oh, not sometime. We'll see you tomorrow on the Daily Egg. Bye. Thank you for my fresh